being comfortable with yourself in silence is going to be able to facilitate a level of insight and borderline enlightenment, if not literally enlightenment itself, that is going to set you off and set you apart from others. In order to think as people, we need to be able to have a moment of silence. We need to not be so entertained consistently. We are constantly bombarded with just visual and mental stimuli to the point having original ideas or original thoughts is near impossible. And you might be feeling this yourself. Like, seriously, take some recollection and think, when was the last time that you actually had an original thought or an original idea? Like, it could be weeks, could be months. And the reason for this is because we were just constantly stimulated by external factors like media, like our phones, television, news, the school system, like literally the list goes on. And if you are a person that wants to actually expand and truly, manifest themselves in a righteous way and be a powerful person, you're going to have to really have a good relationship with being able to think and being able to manifest ideas. And the number one way to make this an actual reality for you is having a good relationship with silence, having a good relationship with boredom. If you have a good relationship with boredom, and if you have a good relationship with things like silence, then naturally you're going to have a high proclivity, a high chance to be able to facilitate and garner ideas and insights. Now, seriously, you could just try this right now. Just take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes away from this video and just be in complete silence, just complete boredom. And you will instantly, maybe after 2 minutes, maybe after 3, 4, 5, ideas and insights will naturally come to you. And it's honestly a pretty magical thing. Your body will automatically try to relieve its tightness by showing you things that you've been ignoring all this time by being constantly entertained. Us being constantly entertained is such a big reason that there are so many mental illnesses and so many physical ailments and illnesses, is because we are constantly distracted, and that distraction creates an environment where we can never actually take a look at ourselves and be able to reflect and recollect and actually develop as human beings. The insights that you will be able to garner from having a good relationship with silence is going to allow you to navigate yourself in such a eloquent way, in such a righteous way. Because the world is actually talking to you when you are in silence, when you are in a state of boredom. This is how people are able to reflect on their past, are able to reflect on their actions, their decisions, and actually be able to reflect on themselves and be able to grow from that. And if you're just constantly in a state of entertainment, this allows for an impossibility of reflection. And this is the biggest problem in society right now, in particular, Western civilization. So in my opinion, this is probably top 3 things that you could do in order to facilitate an easier environment for you to progress as a person. If you right now feel some sort of tightness in your chest, it is likely a spiritual type of issue. It is likely you continuously ignoring actual issues that are going on in your life, and this accumulates in actual physical tightness. And that physical tightness represents the issues that you've been ignoring and just stuffing down in your psyche. And then your body manifests these ailments and these stresses and this horrible anxiety over time, and it becomes incredibly debilitating. And I mean, it's totally understandable. Life is incredibly treacherous, and the amount of turmoil that is in life is incredibly sad. So it's really comfortable to ignore all that stuff and wake up in the morning, go on your phone, just be on your phone the whole day, be on your computer the whole day. It's a very, very, very comfortable way to live in the short term. But when you extrapolate that outwards, it's actually incredibly difficult and unhealthy and burdensome for your whole life, your whole existence. You are starting to operate on a lower frequency and a lower vibration the more that you ignore these actual really important things that life is trying to show you. It is one of the sacrifices that you as a person, maybe even particularly as a man, need to bear, is bearing and looking at the uncomfortable. You need to have a high propensity to be comfortable being in the uncomfortable, be comfortable with failure, be comfortable with reflection, because without that stuff, you're just going to be a mundane, lifeless person. You're going to be a shell of what you could have been. And that is hell on earth, is looking back at your life and knowing that You are a shell of what you could have been. You are a shell of your potential. But right now, when you're watching this, like I'm 20, you're maybe, around that age or a little bit younger, maybe even a little bit older. Regardless, you always have potential. You always have potential, no matter if you're 90, 80, 60, 6. It does not matter. You always have potential. So being able to actually create an environment that you're able to reflect on yourself and garner ideas and original insights is the number one key to actual growth as a person and actually fulfilling what you could be. And this is why it is so necessary for you not to be actively seeking short-term dopaminergically releasing behaviors like scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on TikTok, Twitter. There's a time and a place for everything, truly. And that stuff becomes much more entertaining and much more rewarding if you actually are able to balance it out. If that's the only thing you're doing, you probably feel pretty bad right now. You probably feel borderline ill, and that is because you are. But it is okay. It's not too late, man. You seriously are just able to step away from that stuff, and you will be surprised on how easy it is for your body and your spirit and your mind to feel free after just a little bit of time with yourself. Just encounter yourself and encounter all these years that have garnered up to the present moment that you're currently inhabiting, and just take a second and realize that you're in reality, you are in the universe, and your future is going to be filled with consequences, and it's going to be filled with sacrifice and exposure to the dark. But if you just grab it by the horns and just continue trucking, your future self is going to be incredibly pleased with yourself in the present moment right now. Also, on top of what I just said, in today's culture, we live in a very fast-paced type scenario, and productivity is highly regarded as success, which in a lot of ways it is. But what success is above all of that stuff, the actual real success, is being comfortable with yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're a failure at life. It doesn't matter if you're making $10,000 a year, $5,000 a year, or not even making any money at all. It doesn't matter. What truly matters is if you actually have a good relationship with yourself, and if you actually have a sense of love for yourself. And you cannot obtain that without knowing yourself. And if you just continue to live in the short-term dopaminergically seeking behavior that innately requires you to ignore your present situation, then you will become that shell of a person. I know I have, in many cases. I know a lot of people in my life that have, and it's incredibly sad to see. But the saddest thing and most redemptive thing at the same time is the fact that they're able to snap out of it at will. It just takes a little bit of discomfort. Now, evolutionarily, you could take a few seconds and think about this. All of our ancestors, every single person watching this, our ancestors were incredibly comfortable with silence. They were incredibly comfortable with boredom because that is literally the only thing they had. In fact, it wasn't even boring to them. It wasn't even technically silence to them because their minds were constantly occupied with thinking and thinking and thinking and feeling as well. And the pair of thinking and feeling just made for a really healthy psychology because they were incredibly familiar with every single thing that is going on within their life. I am envious for those people. I am envious for my ancestors because the frequency and noise that they were living at was, you can't even compare it to nowadays. Nowadays, it is such a spiky, fast-paced, radically acidic frequency that we all live in, and that is incredibly unhealthy. And I don't mean to be stressing you out by this, but I am trying to convey that our ancestors, they were not stressed. Like, obviously they were able to bear the stresses and responsibilities of life, but the time that they had with themselves and their family members and their friends was incredibly therapeutic because it was not pretentious, it was not fake, it was real. It was real people doing real things, really reflecting on their life. And we are honestly a bunch of cyborgs now. We are not even really human anymore. We're human, we're biological creatures just inserted in this SSD, this hard drive of a world, and it's incredibly sad. And if we don't reflect on this right now, the amount of ailments that are going to be developed and have already been developed are going to be and have been horrendous. And it's obvious. You as a viewer could obviously realize that, but let me know what you think about that in the replies. We have lost so much spiritual and realistic depth in our world now. Everything is incredibly surface level to the point there is no spiritual omnisphere surrounding anything. It is only surface level traction. We live in such a synthetic world, and we are incredibly non-synthetic beings. So those two just don't go together at all. And when you force them together, it creates a future that none of us are going to want at all. No matter what like short-term fleshly desires that we have, it might seem fun, but I promise you, and we all know this, a life of our civilization just leading down that path of technological superiority is going to create a horrible society. And we could all see that, and it's already starting to manifest. Silence is a gateway to intuition. Silence is a gateway to insight, and we need more of that. And the elites in society that are able to, control the majority of everything, they know this. They want us to be distracted. And I'm not going to go too in depth with that because I don't want any of the algorithm type stuff to get messed up like it has in the past. But seriously, guys and gals, just be aware that silence is the best commodity and is incredibly important for everybody involved. Also, if you were an incredibly creative person and you feel like you're just not creative anymore, this is probably why. This is probably why you do not feel creative anymore, is because you don't have time to be creative. You're constantly seeing things that have already been created. Of course, that's not going to be able to make you creative at all. And I've experienced this, I'm sure you have too. So just wake up in the morning and for like an hour or two, just go as long as you can without your phone. And do that periodically in the day too. And you'll actually come to realize that these are the times that you become the most creative, you become the most mentally active. And it's a very, very beautiful thing. And that level of mental activation is going to be so incredibly satisfying to the point you're going to look at your phone and be like, what kind of intuition or what kind of insight from my phone is going to be able to get reflected back onto me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. What the universe does to you in terms of giving you insight and intuition out-levels and outranks what is ever on your phone by scales of magnitude that are not even comprehensible by English language. Now, just to back up these claims, I'm going to give you some examples. The monks, what meditation is in general, is literally being comfortable in silence. It is being comfortable with yourself, and it is being comfortable in the present moment. That is the pinnacle of enlightenment. So this is some seriously real stuff, guys. Being comfortable with yourself in silence is going to be able to facilitate a level of insight and borderline enlightenment, if not literally enlightenment itself, that is going to set you off and set you apart from others. Not like you want to be set apart from others, but I'm speaking literally. It is the side effects and consequences that this is going to have will inevitably set you apart from others. So yeah, pretty much being comfortable with silence is the remedy above all remedies. This is probably the missing aspect in your life. I know that it was for me. I mean, I have lived pretty much all my existence with just being constantly entertained. And pretty much everybody watching this video has as well. So this is almost, if not the one-stop shop for literally everything. So if you are feeling like if you feel like you're getting hammered by life stresses and just the stress of existential angst in reality, your existence, your whole life to come, just take a second, just take minutes off your day and just be with yourself in silence. And I'm dead serious. This practice consistently will make you such a more perceptive person. And that's really what it is all about. Let me know what y'all think in the replies and the comments. I am eager to listen to you guys. Try this up for a few days and then come back to this video and let me know the level of insight and depth that you are able to garner from this. I'm actually genuinely curious because I know for a fact this has worked for me, and I know for a fact that this has worked for a lot of people since really time millennia, because silence is almost the biggest thing that we could scale back to in terms of how long it has been with us in history. I mean, silence is and always has been kind of the overarching principle for all reality across every single dimension is silence. And maybe perhaps silence is the reason that we're here. Just the eagerness to get out of silence. Maybe metaphysically that has created reality. Regardless, I'm very eager to hear what you all are thinking. So put that stuff in the comments and the replies. I appreciate everybody for watching, and I hope you have an amazing week, amazing month, and I'll see you guys in the next one.